Hello, welcome back to Bet Builders. I'm of course Statman Dave, and I'm joined by Adam Boultwood on Free Super Tips. Today, we're going to be discussing game week 7 in the Premier League. But first up, Adam, European Super League, quick thoughts?
All for it, mate. I mean, who isn't? It's universally popular, and I think it's a great idea.
You make me feel sick. We're going to be taking you through all the bets, of course, for this weekend. We're going to be building bets, we're going to have a lot of fun, but of course, gamble responsibly if you get involved with any of these bets. And jump over to freesupertips.com if you want to check out any other tipping advice for game week 7 in the Premier League. First up, we've got to talk about Roy Hodgson taking his Crystal Palace side to the Black Country to face Nuno Espirito Santo's Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves, of course, are unbeaten in 3 games. Crystal Palace took a 2-1 win against Fulham with Zaha king again. Do you think he's going to struggle against Wolverhampton Wanderers back 3 especially?
I don't know, it's interesting. Obviously, I think Wolves have sort of sharpened up in the last couple of games. For me, I think the encouragement for Zaha and Palace will be that 4-0 against West Ham, though. Got turned over there, shipped quite a few goals. So I think that will obviously give Palace the encouragement that they can get at that back 3. So, you know, I feel like Zaha could do something there. I feel like Palace could get a good result. They've been performing well this season.
He is absolutely in form. That reverse pass, the goal, absolutely sensational. But Wolverhampton Wanderers as well, I think they're a bit goal shy. The last 3 games, only 3 goals. You're looking at maybe Adama Traore, Jimenez, those 2 combined for the most goals in the Premier League last season. Do you think Nuno needs to go back to that approach from the start?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue seems to be there, whether he needs to be starting Traore. I know he's obviously doing an impact off the bench, but I'm not sure how he kind of solves that issue. I think, is it 2 goals they've scored in the last 3 games? I think obviously that's an area for Nuno to try and fix. But yeah, interested to see how it goes in this fixture.
I definitely think he's got to start from the start. I do like Daniel Podence. I like what Neto's been doing, but I think the raw, oiled up pace of Adama Traore could really
Specifically
cause some
oiled up
problems. Should we dive into the bets? Move swiftly on from that little phrase. Boultwood, what have you gone through on the first game?
I've gone for both teams to score and Palace to win. I feel like I'm going to go for it, get those odds up a little bit. I know Wolves, as I say, have performed well in those last 3 games, but I'm feeling confident that Palace can do something here. They will concede, but I'm feeling like Zaha's going to be the man, inspire them to victory again. Both teams score, Palace to win.
Interesting, Bolt, because I've gone completely the other way. I have gone completely the other way. I'm going to go Wolves to win the match and Jimenez any time. I do think if Adama Traore can come back and start the game, I think his pace is going to be a massive threat to Crystal Palace. Palace are a team that like to sit a bit deep. If he can drive forward, take the man on, get the ball into the box, Jimenez any time is what I'm kind of looking at, Bold.
I like my odds better.
Your odds are definitely better than my odds, but you know, you're looking at the whether this is going to come off. I think that's the big thing. And let's take a look at Free Super Tips Bet Builder as well, because those guys usually get it right. Wolves to win the game, under 3 goals in the game, and Jimenez to score any time. Quite similar, but a bit negative with the goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, 2-1 Palace, maybe something like that. So, yeah, I think I'll stick with my bet. I'm feeling confident.
Next up, Pep Guardiola takes his Man City side to the Steel City to face Sheffield United. Of course, Sheffield United had a stop-start campaign. City may have hit a bit of rhythm. Both strikers out. Jesus, Aguero are injured. Ferran Torres through the middle against Marseille. Do you think Pep's going to continue with that?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. Obviously, against West Ham, Torres and Foden were on the bench. Seems to have found a bit of solution there against Marseille. I think Torres obviously got a lot of pace. I think he kind of stretches the field there. More pockets, more gaps for someone like De Bruyne to come into and influence the game. I thought very impressive against Marseille. Foden, Torres and Sterling seem to work really well together. So I think they've got a potent attacking option there. So I'm backing them to do well against Sheffield United this weekend.
Sheffield United aren't on a great run.
No.
1 draw, 5 defeats so far in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
How much do you think the atmosphere, or the lack of atmosphere, should we say, has affected Sheffield United, especially at home? Yeah,
I think obviously it has an impact, has clearly had a lot of impact on many teams this season. I think Sheffield United aren't playing badly though. I feel like they are putting in good performances. Chris Wilder's been talking about how, they need to stay positive, the results will come. They're missing key players, Jack O'Connell's missing, Mousse up front's missing, they're lacking that goal threat. So it's a difficult period for them, but I feel like the results will come because the performances have been there to an extent so far this season. Even against Liverpool, I thought they played well.
It's quite interesting, they haven't conceded 3 goals in the Premier League this season, but they've lost games, 2-1, 2-0, 1-0. So it's been scrappy. The issue is if it starts to become a habit of losing those games and a lack of fight back that we saw so much last season. But anyway, Boultwood, let's go into your bets. Are you backing Sheffield United in this game?
No, I'm not. I think City are going to win this one, given the form from Sheffield United. Sterling, of course, got another goal in midweek against Marseille. I'm backing him to score again, obviously with Aguero and Jesus out. So yeah, I'm feeling confident in my bet.
No, I do like that. I think, Man City have started to kick back in. Of course, De Bruyne is massive.
Yeah.
KDB being in that side is massive.
KDB.
I also like the use of Bernardo Silva in central midfield.
Yeah.
I'm liking Foden, Torres, Sterling. I think that works quite well. So no, I do actually like your second bet, Boultwood.
Thank you.
I'm going to give this the Statman Dave stamp of approval. Let's move on to my bet. I'm going a little bit more ballsy with it. We're going to go City to win to 0. I just don't think Sheffield United have got much going forward. Lord Lundstrom isn't scoring the goals this season, as Mousset's out injured.
Yeah.
There's problems there. But I'm going to go Foden any time. Can I fancy Phil Foden? He's got the second best XG behind Kevin De Bruyne for Manchester City this season. Nice. And he's been starting in these attacking positions, part of the front three. So I'm thinking Foden any time and over 2 goals in the game.
I like that.
I think it could really kick on here. I don't know how City are going to play it when they get dominant, because they might just try and starve Sheffield United at possession, control the game, or we could see a real sort of vintage Guardiola performance.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I like that. It's a good bet.
Very good bet. Now let's take up free super tips bet builder as well. They've got Man City to win the game, under 4 goals in the game, and Sterling any time. Okay. So basically, if we get over 2, under 4, we're all laughing here, aren't we?
Laughing. Yeah, I like that. Sterling score as well. I see a little bit of pattern there. Yeah, some good options there, definitely.
So now we're going to move slightly west, over to Burnley.
Okay.
Frank Lampard, Chelsea have got to go up north and pick up some points here if they want to get into the Champions League. The interesting side here, I thought Burnley played quite well against your team, Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, it's going to be a big introduction to English football for Thiago Silva, up against Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes. How important is that pair for Sean Dyche this season to get them going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they haven't been scoring. But again, as I was saying with Sheffield United, I feel like the performances are there. They were good against Spurs. I think that's probably their best home performance of the season. They threatened, they almost scored, had it not been for Harry Kane clearing it off the line. I think they're going to be 2 defenders that Thiago struggles to deal with. Obviously, he's been a little bit shaky this season, I think, in certain games. So it'd be interesting to see how he kind of adapts to that, the physicality. But at the same time, I can't see Burnley winning this one.
I think it's an interesting one. Obviously, Thiago Silva played really, really well against Manchester United last time, but didn't really have that direct physical opponent. Whereas you're looking at Burnley, you've got 2 guys there. Either of them are going to be physical. Will Lampard play a back 3? It's quite a lot of questions. But I want to talk about the attack for Chelsea, because it's a bit hot and cold for me. We see performances of them destroying teams, and then the next week they don't really create anything. Manchester United, they felt they didn't do much going forward. Do you think it's time for Olivier Giroud to return into the side and sort of save Frank Lampard again?
I don't know. Chelsea are a really interesting one. Obviously, much has been made of their defensive issues. I feel like in kind of looking to fix those, the attack's kind of suffering. Feels like a bit of an issue with balance with Frank Lampard's side in order to kind of get the attack firing at the same time as that solidity at the back. It'd be interesting to see if someone like Giroud can come in, maybe alongside Werner instead of in place of him, maybe 2 up top. Could be something quite interesting to see them playing off each other. Even Werner and Abraham would be interesting up front, but I think that is a really interesting question for Lampard. Does he have the kind of adaptability, does he have that nous in order to address that lack of balance and get them firing up front as well as getting that stability at the back?
I think Timo Werner could be perfect with Giroud. You make a number of great points there,
Thank
Boultwood.
you.
That's why you're on Bet Builders today.
Thank you very much.
That's a reason to subscribe, right? To see more Adam Boultwood. Could be back in the future. But I think the big thing with Giroud, you think about the World Cup with Antoine Griezmann, that pacey player in behind him can hold the ball up and then the pacey player can run off. That's just Timo Werner.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he brings that in this weekend and potential solution to those issues.
But is he in your bet? Is Timo Werner in your bet to score any time? Because we had him in a few weeks, he finally scored and then we took him out of the bets. But is he in for you, Boultwood?
No, I've gone...
Precision, should we say here?
No,
absolute precision.
I feel like Werner has been blown hot and cold. I don't think Giroud is going to play alongside him this weekend. I think Lampard's going to stick with the formation, the system he's been going with. He's going to need that solidity against Burnley. They've not been too good this season, but I do think there is a threat there. I think it's a very difficult place to go. Spurs were lucky, I think, to win on Monday night, admittedly. So I feel like Chelsea, draw, double chance, hedging your bets a little bit. Exactly 2 goals in the match. I've gone for a very specific one. Potentially 1-1.
1-1, 2-0.
Yeah, I think it's one or the other. So that's my bet.
Again, I think it's quite interesting. Burnley were very, very compact against Spurs. They defended well. The amount of balls that Spurs put into the box, just so simple for those 2 centre-backs, especially Tarkowski, to deal with that. So, no, I do like that. But last season in the Premier League, the game ended 4-2 to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So my bet kind of reflects a Chelsea
Goals,
bit of
yeah.
a drumming. Going to go Pulisic anytime. He scored a hat-trick last time at Turf Moor. A really good hat-trick as well. Some top finishes following some mazy dribbles. Going to go Jorginho anytime. So you may question this, Jorginho.
Penalty, is it?
Penalties.
Yeah.
So only Leicester City have won more penalties than Chelsea have managed in the Premier League this season. So I'm thinking the pace of Pulisic, Werner, on the counter-attack with some direct play. Jorginho's going to step up from the spot. He's got a great record from the penalty spot. Goal time there and over 3 goals in the game.
Wow.
I reckon it just feels like Lampard may have the beating of Sean Dyche.
I just don't think they're going to score that many goals. I find it hard to believe, given that they restricted Spurs to 1 goal last time out, the top scoring team in the league. I find it hard to believe that Lampard's going to have addressed that sort of balance and get them firing. However, I'm interested. I like it.
Yeah, it's a little bit, off the cuff a bit there, but let's go over to free super tips. Bet builder as well. We've got Chelsea to win to 0 under 3 goals. So they're following the similar process to you, Adam.
I like it. I think that's closer, personally. I think us or free super tips are gonna get a win there.
Next up, we're talking about crisis. Liverpool, injury crisis.
Oh,
Virgil van Dijk out.
Yeah.
Fabinho, hamstring injury.
Oh, geez, he's a hamstring. I didn't even know that. Wow.
Unbelievable. Could we see the return of the more swashbuckling style of Jurgen Klopp, more goals than the opposition versus the kind of more defensive-minded control that we've seen over the last few seasons?
It's interesting. I'm interested to see how he addresses that defensive problem. Obviously, Reece Williams came in the Champions League, a very young centre-back, big shoes to fill, Van Dijk and Fabinho's. So I'm intrigued to see how he gets on there. Hopefully, I've heard big things about Reece Williams, so hopefully that addresses that issue. Attacking-wise, potentially, I think we saw Jota, Salah, Firmino, Mane start for the first time against Sheffield United last weekend. So I think that's in Klopp's mind. It seemed to work well. Jota obviously got the winner, or the goal, I should say. I feel like it could be a sort of an all-out attack in order to kind of, a safeguard against that defensive fragility. It'd be interesting to see how he manages this. I think it is a massive issue for Liverpool. Their form since they won the title has been really poor. Obviously, these huge defensive issues now. It's going to be a huge headache for Klopp. So I'm interested to see how he addresses it. Maybe score as many as you can. Don't worry about the defensive side of it. See what happens.
I think 2 players that have got to be massive now, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. And they haven't been as creative as they have been in previous seasons. Now those 2 really need to step up. If Liverpool are going for this approach, score more goals than the opponents, we've got to see those 2 guys step up. But good news for Trent, midweek in the Champions League was fantastic. Created 4 chances, got an assist. And we all saw that wonderful outside the boot volleyed pass. So I think it's going to be a big few months for those 2 players to kind of carry the defence in a way with their experience and so forth. Talking about experience, David Moyes seems to negotiate a really tough spell for West Ham United. They've played Liverpool, they're playing Liverpool this weekend, they played Man City, they've played Spurs, and they've done really well.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, West Ham. I think they've kind of, especially under Moyes as well, they've got this history of kind of overperforming against the top 6, top 9 opponents, but it's usually against those kind of lesser teams, mid-table around them, relegation teams where they struggle. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Moyes performs sort of after this game going into Christmas to see if they can find that sort of consistency which will push them further up the table towards Europe. Given the history with Moyes, as I say, with these big teams, you could see West Ham getting something out of this game. I
think it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, this is a big one. This is going to be a high-octane game where they can sit deep, they can defend. But like you're saying, what are they going to do against teams that defend against them? Mikel Antonio obviously might be out injured this week, but I do like Souček in midfield. Declan Rice has showed another level to his game in terms of creativity. So it's going to be a really interesting spell. But have you got West Ham in your bet, Adam? Let's take a look at that right now.
Yeah, I feel like, even though West Ham have a chance, I feel like Liverpool are going to win this one. They find a little bit of form again. Definitely going to win. I feel like Salah, very unlucky to have that goal disallowed last week, the absolute peach. So I'm feeling like he's going to be absolutely chomping at the bit to score this weekend. Liverpool win, Salah to score first.
Salah's very much a blocky striker in a way where he'll score in sort of spells and so forth, braces, hat-tricks. So I quite like that. I do think Liverpool will be too strong. Good. I think Trent and Robertson, we mentioned before, I think they're going to be big. I think Mane's been sensational this season. So I do think Salah could provide that first goal as well. My bet's relatively similar, but we're going more goals. Goals, really? And goals. We've got over 4 goals in the game. We've got Salah anytime and Mane anytime. The pair have scored 10 Premier League goals so far this season. That is more than half of the teams in the Premier League have managed in total.
Wow.
So that is the impact of these 2 players. I think West Ham United in their shape, potentially you could expose Mane and Salah against those outside centre-backs. Okay. Goals galore. But let's take a look at free super tips. Have they gone a little bit more conservative than goals, goals, goals? Liverpool to win the game, both teams to score, and Salah any time, so more goals.
Yeah, I think obviously if Antonio, as you say, is missing, that kind of potentially falls down. But West Ham
set pieces potentially.
Exactly.
Without Van Dijk, without Fabinho, you're thinking Thomas Souček, who's got I think he's got the best XG in the Premier League not to have scored a goal. He's due a goal, set pieces.
We did see that against Spurs, unfortunately, so potentially you could be right.
Now to the Midlands for Villa versus Southampton. Last time out, Aston Villa, who are pretty much a surprise package this season. A lot of people tipped them for relegation. They've been doing well, but they got hammered by Bielsa's Leeds. Southampton, on the other hand, got a great result against Don Carlo's Everton. Do you think Villa are the real deal?
It's interesting. I'm really excited for this game. To the form teams in the Premier League, I think it was a really unfortunate defeat for Villa last week. However, before that, it was 8 games unbeaten, stretching back into last season, obviously, when they miraculously escaped relegation. I feel like they've got a really nice rhythm there. I think Ross Barkley is a really interesting addition. Him and Grealish together seem fantastic. I feel like they've really got the makings of something special. So for me, I feel like that 3-0 was a bit of an aberration, a bit of an outlier. Whereas Villa, I don't want to say they're the real deal, but I think they're a very solid team, an impressive team this season.
I think, unfortunately for me, it confirmed Villa's fraudulence in the league. But no, let's sort of move on with it in terms of their, like you mentioned, Barkley and Grealish look really good together.
Yeah.
If they can keep scoring the goals they've been scoring it and committing bodies forward, then maybe. But I'm still sitting very much on the fence. There's things that I consider look really good for Villa, but things like the Leeds game, Patrick Bamford had far too much space in the penalty area. If you want to be a good defensive side in the Premier League, we've got a real problem there. But let's move on to Southampton. Danny Ings became provider last week. 2 wonderful assists for James Ward-Prowse and of course Che Adams.
Yeah.
Would you say he's the most underrated striker in the Premier League right now in terms of his completeness?
Underrated? I don't think so. I think he's just rated, personally. I think everyone knows how good Danny Ings is. I think, as you said, the really interesting thing is he's not just scoring goals, he's assisting as well. I think it's really encouraging to see him getting the best out of Che Adams. Those two up front together, I know there was a lot of expectation on Che Adams last season when he came in. He didn't quite live up to the hype, he didn't quite live up to his potential. Now we're finally seeing him doing the business, and I think him alongside Ings is a really dangerous attacking combo. It'd be interesting to see if Villa can hold them back this weekend.
I think that's the thing for Villa, is that obviously last week they played Leeds, a very heavily possession-based side. Now they're going to play a very compact Southampton team that's focusing on pressure, narrow four-man midfield, and then the 2 strikers that could cause some real danger and damage. I do worry about the space maybe in between the centre-halves and the full-backs for Aston Villa that Shea and Danny could go and deal with, of course, first-name terms with those 2 guys. But let's take a look at the bets after finding my relationship out with some Southampton strikers. Adam, you've gone with Southampton to win the game and both teams to score. Nice little 4-1.
Yeah, I feel like, as I said, that attacking threat for Southampton is going to be too much for Villa. I feel like both teams to score, as we're saying, if Grealish and Barkley and Watkins can kind of find the net. I feel like this is a good bet. I feel like it's a good shout. But yeah, Villa are going to be on the losing side, unfortunately. So
after you talking them up, you're now going Southampton to win the game?
I think, listen, as I said, there are 2 form teams in the league. I think Southampton right now are more potent, more dangerous. So I'm going for Southampton.
I'll let you off. Let's take a look at my bet. We're also going Southampton draw double chance. A little bit more defensive. Yeah. This is a little bit more of a backward, little defensive shot versus hitting a reverse sweep. But Ings anytime, 4 goals, 2 assists in the Premier League this season. Didn't score last time out. He just looks so confident. That cross with his left foot as well, just a brilliant player. But we've gone very, very defensive for this bet. Let's take a look at free super tips bet as well. They've gone for both teams to score yes, back in your prediction there.
Excellent.
Also over 2.5 goals in the game and Ings any time. So not backing a team, but backing a lot of goals.
Solid. I think that's a given.
Up to Newcastle. This is a big game for Carlo Ancelotti. If they are serious about being Champions League contenders for those obviously massive positions, the games, everything that Ancelotti has come to Everton to deliver, got to beat a team like Newcastle.
Yeah, I think it's a tough place to go, Newcastle. However, I think their form stretching back to lockdown and the start of the year has been very poor. I think Newcastle fans are understandably, running out of patience with Steve Bruce. I think there is there's an inclination to defend him, to point the finger at Mike Ashley and the club and not having the investment and the support there. However, I think the football on the pitch has been awful. And I think there could be more ambition. There could be more there from Steve Bruce that he could be doing to get more out of these players. It seems to be Alan Saint-Maximin being the only outlet, the only really goal-scoring threat. I think they've only scored, out of the last 28 games, I think it's 20 games where they've failed to score or have only scored 1. not many goals there. I don't think they're going to offer much of a threat against Everton, so I think Don Carlo is going to get a nice win here.
Don Carlo, though, without Luca Dean, I think that could be massive in terms of how they've been using him on that left-hand side, almost like a winger, James switching the ball out. That's a big, big problem for me. But Newcastle are a very weird side. They basically break all the XG models in the Premier League. I don't know what they're doing. Statistically, they've conceded the most shots on their goal, and only Palace have taken fewer shots than them. So they're basically conceding too much, and they're not taking enough.
Yeah, I don't think they know what they're doing. So it'd be interesting to see how this one goes out, but I think it's only going to go one way, personally.
Yeah, one way. But the thing here is, I take those models and I obviously look at them and I analyse them. Yeah. But Newcastle are always that team that I go, they're going to lose this weekend and then they win. So I might have gone a little bit different in the bet. But Boultwood, let's take me through what you've got here.
Yeah, I've gone for the obvious.
Yeah, the obvious.
Listen, I've gone for the safe bet. Everton to win this one and Calvert-Lewin again to score any time. Obviously one of the form players in the Premier League this season. I feel like he's going to dominate in the air. I think we're going to see a nice comfortable win for Everton and Calvert-Lewin getting on the score sheet.
The only issue I think from this is the lack of creativity on that left-hand side. Richarlison out. Okay. Luca Dean suspended. I just worry about the supply. But you've also got the best player in the Premier League in James Rodriguez. Nobody can really argue with that. Wow. Let's move on to my bets. Unfortunately, I'm going against James this week. We're going Newcastle to win the game, and we're going Callum Wilson anytime.
Yeah, I think this is your worst selection of the day.
This is probably the worst selection of the day, but
I like it. It's bold.
Different.
It's bold.
It's very, very bold. You're looking at Wilson on penalties, fourth best XG in the league.
Yeah.
The big one, though, Newcastle to win the game. I think the Luca Dean thing is big, and that's why I've gone with that. Let's take a look at Free Super Tips Bet Builder. Again, great odds for this game. Everton to win the game. Both teams to score on Calvert-Lewin anytime.
This I like. Now this I like.
Okay, you're backing the big dog. Sometimes you've got to flip the form guide over, flip those XG models, and then go with your heart.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go for what's going to work.
Next up to Ollie's Rampant Reds versus Mikel Arteta's Arsenal on Sunday afternoon at Old Trafford. United, of course, played a goalless draw with Chelsea last time out. Arsenal lost to Leicester City. That was a really weird result for Arsenal and the progression of the side. Is this a must-win for both clubs?
I feel like it is, and therefore I feel like it's going to be a draw. I feel like Arsenal struggled in attack. They wasted chances against Leicester. I feel like they're going to struggle again at United. I know United won against PSG, another amazing result for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Haven't been overly impressed by them this season, especially at home. So I feel like we could, unfortunately, in a big game, after such a wild start to the season, be heading for a bit of a boring game here, a 0-0 potentially.
Potentially a 0-0. Aubameyang is now on the worst scoring run that he's had in his career since 2014. 5 games without a goal.
Wow.
What do Arsenal need to change?
I think it's a really tough one for Arteta. Something obviously the Spurs fans love to see. Aubameyang was being talked about as someone who's better than Harry Kane last season when he signed that contract. I think we're obviously seeing the golfing class between the two. But I think, Aubameyang playing on the left, Lacazette in the middle or Nketiah, it doesn't quite seem to be working. There doesn't seem to quite be that cohesion there. I think there's big question marks over Lacazette, someone whose contract's up soon, whether that's going to be renewed remains to be seen. Aubameyang, is the left his best position? Could he be moved inside? Does that solve anything? I feel like there's a lack of aerial threat for Arsenal. Aubameyang doesn't possess it, neither does Lacazette, neither does Nketiah. I feel like there's a lack of options, there's a lack of variety going forward there. So it's interesting to see if he can solve it before this weekend, but I feel like it needs to be a bit of a change. There needs to be some thinking outside the box for Arteta. So
Adam, let's take a look at your bets. You are going to go with the draw, under 3 goals in the game.
I just think it's going to be a ball draw, unfortunately. A 0-0 or 1-1 or something like that. I don't think Arsenal have enough potency in attack in order to threaten Man United. I just think it's going to be a draw, unfortunately.
So you're sending me to Old Trafford again to watch a goalless draw?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I'm sorry to say it. Okay, and I hope it's the case as well.
That's okay. I've got brighter views on the game.
Okay.
I've gone with Manchester United to win. Mason Greenwood any time. Bruno Fernandes any time.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Mason looked bright against Chelsea.
Okay, I was going to say,
in his brief spell on the pitch, I think if he starts, could cause Arsenal some problems. You think in the transition, potentially isolating a David Luiz, a Mustafi, a Gabriel 1v1, Mason step-overs will absolutely bamboozle them. Fernandes any time. So we're going to go again busting stats. So last week we said for Firmino to score a goal for Liverpool, and he did, to upset the form. I think this time Arsenal are yet to concede a penalty in the Premier League this season. And which team gets all the penalties? Yes, it's Manchester United.
I love it.
So that's why we go Bruno Fernandes anytime. But also he's obviously a danger from open play as well. Let's take a look at free super tips bet as well. They've gone under 3 goals in the game and Fernandes anytime. So they've obviously been doing their penalty research stats. Very, very good stuff, guys. Under 3 goals in the game. So another bit of a
mix of our bets there. I like that.
Yeah, a nice mix, but it's not going to be a classic then. Spurs versus Brighton next. Jose Mourinho's doing a relatively good job at Tottenham.
He's doing a very good job. I feel like I need to eat my words a little bit on Jose. I've been very outspoken when he was appointed. Didn't really understand the short-termism there. He's obviously someone who doesn't stay at clubs for more than 2, 3, 4 years. So I was very negative when he arrived at the club. However, I think what Spurs have done that was perhaps unexpected is back him this summer. Real reinforcements, big problem areas, the full-back positions, obviously that striking backup for Harry Kane and Vinicius, which I think is fantastic. Højbjerg's come in and been absolute revelation. And Ndombele is like a new signing. I feel like Spurs and Levy have backed Mourinho here in a way that perhaps they didn't with Pochettino. And I think Levy's putting all the chips in here. He's like, okay, this is the end of that generation. Kane, Dyer, Alderweireld, Lloris, all these incredible players. It's time to maximise that and make sure that we get something out of the end of it, which is ultimately going to be a trophy.
The Europa League, let's put it down there.
I'd take that. I would take that.
Gareth Bale in the Europa League, it just feels completely wrong. But Brighton, in terms of being wrong, they were very poor last time out. They only had 5 shots against West Bromwich Albion, one of the worst defences in the league.
This is it, and I mean, Spurs are the highest scoring team in the Premier League. Obviously, we all know the Son and Kane show. They're on absolute fire. Is it 29 goals they've combined for over their time at the club?
The Statman.
Only less than Lampard and Drogba?
You see, we've got it written down here. He's obviously gone into the notes before, but great stats from Adam.
Yes.
Adam, are those stats going to go into your bets, though?
Yes, 100%. I think it's a bit of a given, but I feel like it's going to be an absolute goal fest. I think Spurs are going to be banging them in. I think it's going to be over 3 goals in the match, and Kane to score first. I think it's going to be a real drubbing and a real turning over.
It's a good one, that, because Spurs started very, very quick against West Ham. 3 goals in the opening 16 minutes of that game. Brighton are a footballing side. Mourinho loves killing football insides. I do like how Kane's been dropping off and playing Son through, though. So the first goal, maybe not the first one. Let's jump over to my bet. Okay. You see, I think it's slightly different. We've gone Kane anytime, Son anytime. Yeah, basically, this is going to be a frequent thing because the guys are just in such good form. And we're going to go over 4 goals in the game. So we have gone big in this game. You mentioned that relationship between the pair. They just look so in form right now. Let's jump over to free super tips bet as well. What have they built for us? We've got Spurs to win the game. Kane anytime, Son anytime. Okay. Lots of Spurs for you. Very safe. It's like we knew you were a Spurs fan.
Exactly. I think great bet, safe one. Go for it.
Should we move on to a game that we probably won't touch that much on? Fulham up against West Brom. Fulham, of course, lost 2-1 to Palace. West Brom drew with Brighton. Should we just dive straight into the bets?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
I went for a draw, unsurprisingly. I think, obviously, it's been a very poor start to the season for both teams. Fulham, I think, have had one of the worst starts to a Premier League season ever. I think only the 3rd worst, or the joint 3rd worst. So I feel like a draw feels like a bit of a given here. Under 2 goals in the match. Again, another board draw between 2 teams who are really not in form.
Bit of a championship game for next season. I think we can all agree on that. Let's take a look at my bet. We've gone something very, very similar. A 1-1 draw. I'm going exact match result. Mitrovic anytime. I think he'll either get the first or the second goal. Potentially from the penalty spot. Let's take a look at free super tips bet builder as well. They've gone West Brom draw double chance, both teams to score. So I like this is a nice conservative bet. This
we're all on the same page.
Conservative. Hold the position. Lovely stuff from free super tips. And finally, maybe game of the weekend.
Yeah.
Leeds versus Leicester City. Okay. Bielsa, it's going to be fun anytime he's managing a side. But we've got to talk about Patrick Bamford. So his conversion rates in the Championship versus the Premier League are very, very different. Conversion rates, the number of shots he's taken to score a goal. So in the Championship, he converted 12% of his shots into goals. In the Premier League this season, he scored 6 goals from 23 shots, a conversion rate of 26%.
Wow.
Is that sustainable for a season?
No, I think obviously he's come into this season in a real purple patch. I'm delighted for him. 27 years old. I think he'd only scored 1 Premier League goal before this season. It's fantastic to see him actually being able to cut it. And I think a lot of people had kind of written him off and said they wouldn't make it. I think he's proven now that he can. I think there was obviously that expectation with Rodrigo coming in as well. He might be a backup. He's not necessarily a first team starter. He's proved that he is. And I'm really happy for him and he's playing fantastic this season. Long may it continue.
Now, I think the interesting side as well is if we look at each of the seasons at Leeds United, he's gone from 3 shots a game to 3.2 shots per game to now 3.8 shots per game. So it's on the trajectory, and I think his conversion rate potentially could be sustainable.
Really?
I just feel like it's clicked, like you say, and I think it's clicked for him. His finishes for that hat-trick, the last one especially, the composure, how he waited for it to open up, and then it was absolutely beautiful. Leicester City, though, got a massive result away at Arsenal. Yuri Tielemans picking out under to Jamie Vardy. Great goal.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting thing, whether they sort of play on the counter. Obviously, if they have very goals you described, moving very quickly in midfield, getting it over the top to Vardy, very potent. I think they're going to be very dangerous. It's going to be an interesting one.
So if you back Leicester City, I think that's the real question. Let's take a look at your bet, Adam. No, both teams to score over 4 goals in the game. Yeah. So again, this is going to be a corker.
Yeah, this is the thing.
So you've backed game of the weekend.
Well, I backed goals. I'm intrigued to see how it's going to go. I didn't want to back either team because it's very hard to read. They're both on good form. They're both scoring goals for fun. I feel like both teams to score over 4 goals in the match. That's the one I've gone for.
Interesting. I have kind of not really stuck my neck out either. I've gone Vardy anytime, Bamford anytime.
Okay.
I think both players are in great form.
Good odds, though. Very good odds.
5-1, very nice.
Nice.
Well, that's a good one. I really do. Let's take a look at free super tips. Of course, another bet. We've got Leeds draw double chance. Both teams to score on Bamford anytime. Of course, free super tips had already heard about the stats that I was waxing lyrical about previously. So they have gone with Bamford as well. So there we have it on free super tips. Of course, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you are new, and gamble responsibly if you're following any of our tips. Boultwood, thanks for coming down. How many do you reckon you're going to get right?
I'm going to back myself. I'm going to say 2 to 3, maybe. I feel like would be a good result.
2 to 3. If you want to go and check out Adam Boultwood, where can the people find you on social media?
At Adam Boultwood on Twitter.
Wonderful, and we'll be back on free super tips next week for some more previews.